Hi there, Mark Schiff here with co-host Danny Lobell for our podcast, We Think It's Funny. And today, hello Danny, good to see you. Feeling all right?
Good to see you too. Yeah. How are
good,
you?
Good. Look who we have here.
Amazing.
Margaret Cho. Hello, Margaret.
Hi.
Good to see you.
Welcome.
Good to see you. Thank you.
And we will later on add your introduction.
Okay.
Okay, so don't think... so nice to have you here. And
Wait a minute. We will? We're going to add an introduction?
I think so, yeah, why not?
Have we ever done that before?
We're going to do it now.
This is big promises you're making on this show. I didn't know. All right, so, we'll put in an introduction.
Okay.
So thank you for coming.
Thank you.
And thanks for bringing your dog.
My dog daughter.
Lucia. Chihuahua?
Chihuahua Dalmatian.
Dalmatian.
Which I don't really see it, but
I don't see the spots or the size.
she's really small.
Really? That's maybe a Dal.
Yeah.
Dalmatian hasn't come around yet.
Yeah.
Little.
Beautiful. 6?
She's 5 years old and she's 5 pounds.
How was that for guessing the age?
Really pretty good.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
I should work in the dog circus where you guess the age
I like that.
and
weight.
and weight of the
Yeah.
the animal.
That would be a good job.
So I have a 4-pounder, a 4-pound Yorkie who challenges pit bulls.
Yeah, the little dogs do that.
They do.
The little dogs, I think I don't know what it is. They have small dog syndrome and they feel like they've got to control the situation.
Yeah.
And so they are, yeah.
I think they're trying to prove to us that they're dogs, too. Like,
Right.
you know, my little dog is like that, too. He's like, don't worry, I got this. I'm a dog.
I'm small, but I'm solid.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Hates the mailman?
No, she actually does not mind. She doesn't mind the doorbell. She only barks at squirrels. That's the only thing that I think is threatening to her. For some reason, she's very anti-squirrel.
So, in order for a dog to become a guide dog for the blind, they have to be de-squirreled, which is maybe they said the hardest thing you can get a dog to do is de-squirrel the dog.
Yeah.
They have them in like a support group with a bunch of squirrels. And they...
I have no idea how you de-squirrel. I mean, I can't even de-squirrel myself, let alone a dog. I see a squirrel, I just want to...
It's like a process of, I think, of exposure therapy where you're just constantly surrounded by squirrels or squirrel, kind of activity. And, I think that over time you start to just not be aggressive to it.
Squirrels are not an international... I mean, they're international, but they're not everywhere, right? They're not every country.
Pigeons?
Every country doesn't have squirrels, do they? Like, if you go to India, I know they have monkeys a lot. But do they also have squirrels?
I don't know. I heard that Israel didn't have rats. Did you ever hear that?
No, I never heard that.
There's some country.
There's so many cats in Israel.
Yeah, I think that's why they had a rat thing, and then they brought the cats, and then
there's no rats left because there's so many cats.
When you see a squirrel, and you're walking by, do you think he's going to jump off the tree and bite you?
No, never. Never.
I do.
Really?
I just see a squirrel, they're standing there, and I know he's just going to leap and just take a chunk out of me.
This tells us a lot about you.
You think so?
Yeah.
Like what?
Well, you're skittish and paranoid.
Yeah.
And delusional.
In that vein.
Yeah. But nothing bad.
No, I understand. So that's nice.
I've had squirrels like in Central Park. They'll eat right out of your hand. You can feed the squirrels out of your hand. It's pretty cool,
right?
Because you're like, oh wow, I'm bonding with a squirrel. Something exciting about that.
They're pretty timid, so I don't think that comes as easily. It's like you really have to be of a trusting nature for them to want to do that.
They also have been dehumanized, like the de-squirreling thing.
Yeah.
They've been around
exposure therapy to human beings.
I see people feeding them in the parks, which the squirrel will be on their arm and stuff like that, but I can't imagine.
Do you really have a fear of them?
Yeah. Well, they're like rats.
How do you feel about possums? They have a very rat-like...
Don't like them.
No?
Possums are scary to me.
So I had a possum. I had 2 possums.
As a pet?
As a pet, as a kid. It was not a good pet. It hissed at us all the time. It was very mean, and then it eventually escaped.
It's nocturnal, too, right?
They're very, very fascinating. They are nocturnal. They're the only marsupials in North America. And they live like a kangaroo baby. They live in the mother's pouch. So the second possum I had was not long ago here. When you see a stray baby possum, usually the mom was hit by a car and they crawl out of the pouch, and then they usually don't make it. So there's possum rescues. So I was trying to get it placed in a possum rescue. In the meantime, it passed away. But I had a possum in a bird cage, and my wife freaked out because she came home and there was a little possum in a bird cage in the living room. She's like, "Get that out of here!" So we moved it to my brother's apartment. At the time, he was living in L.A. and then came by to check on him, and he was dead, which was very sad.
Was he playing dead or was he dead?
No, he was really dead.
Because they play dead.
I know.
They play possum.
They play
But
possum.
He wasn't that good an actor.
Yeah.
This one.
He was actually.
Or he was method. He was really a good actor. But no, but he was dead. It was very sad. And there was flies all around.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you have cats.
Yeah, I have many cats.
They all live in the house.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do they go out at all?
I have a catio. I have 2
Right,
catios.
I remember.
So one is in the front of the house, and the one in the back of the house has 5 rooms. So it's 5 outdoor rooms for the cats. So I can sort of let them out. It's their kingdom, but it's enclosed.
And dogs.
And 1 dog.
One dog.
How long have you known each other?
We don't know each other that well.
Really?
We've met a few times.
A few times here and there in
A few
comedy.
times here and there in comedy.
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
Usually Mark knows everybody forever.
But and
Yeah.
we haven't really worked together.
No, I think oddly no, but maybe that's it's just I don't know. I find like I haven't worked with a lot of other comics. When you're like I never middled. I opened for like 10 years, and then I never middled, and I was right to headliner. So then I never ended up working with that many people.
Right. I never middled or opened because when I started, there were no comedy clubs.
Oh, yeah.
So as soon as they started building them, I went right to headliner
Yeah.
because nothing existed before
Right.
Who did you used to open for?
I used to open for Bill Hicks.
that. Sure.
Oh, wow.
I opened for Brett Butler. I opened for Howie Mandel. I opened for Henry Cho, who I love. I opened for, anybody and everybody.
Bill
pretty
Hicks
much.
is such a storied person in comedy.
Yeah.
Do you have any interesting stories from him?
I had all I know is I had no material, and he would always come late. So it was really stressful because I would have done my 10 minutes of material that I had, and then he would arrive like right when I would be about to introduce him. And so he's like that cool headliner who just didn't even come in the club until right about to walk on stage, which I could never do. I was never like that. I'm still not like that. I have to get there before the opener.
Mm-hmm.
I have to see what's happening. But yeah, he was cool as just anybody. And then when he died, it was as if a king had died. It was literally like I've never seen that level of grief from the comedy community. I mean, there's just never been anything like it. You know, and I don't think that there ever will be. The kind of love that comics had for him was really extraordinary. And it was unmatched.
Why do you think that was about him?
He was just a nice guy, and he was really like not. They had no like ego about him. There was something kind of messianic about his personality. Like he was a sort of a Jesus figure. Like he was just cool with it. You know, so sometimes there's like comics who are just sort of like snobby because they think, oh well, you know, that person's a hack or whatever. And he was just like not like that at all. He had no judgment whatsoever about anybody's act or what anybody was doing, or, you know, if you were a juggler or whatever. Like he was totally like, everybody's cool. There's no sense of elitist kind of attitude that you would see from like a lot of really good comics. They have an elitist attitude towards it, but he was not. He was very I don't know, there was just something, he was just very Jesus-like. So I think that people really adored him and wanted his approval.
And he had that Jesus routine that Letterman wouldn't show, and then didn't he later apologize?
He did,
and then,
yeah. And they brought his mom in to Letterman, and they showed the routine. And,
right.
Yeah, after he died, they showed the set. And I think it was also just like because it was very anti-gun, and it was very, like progressive. But yeah, he was great.
I never met Brett Butler, but when I started out in comedy, there was always this promise that she might walk in at the New York Comedy Club. That was the big person that they said, "Oh, Brett Butler might come in. You never know when Brett Butler's gonna come in here." And I said, "When's she gonna come in?" She never came in. But what's Brett Butler like?
She's just really amazing. Like she's just a very interesting person, and you just I can't even describe it. Like I think that she's really unique. I think she still does comedy too now and again.
I worked with her a couple of years ago in Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was terrific.
Yeah. She's just really like, I mean, she's not around a lot. Like, I don't see her like at some of the clubs here, like a Comedy Store, but I see her like when I'll do like the Garrett Morris's room downtown. Like, I've seen her there. But yeah, like I've known her through so many different incarnations of her, you know, when she was headlining and I was opening for her, and then when she was on her TV show. You know, and I was around there and sort of being around that part. So, you know, I've seen her in so many different arenas. But yeah, I'm always in awe of her.
Yeah.
Well,
It's really special.
Henry Cho, you mentioned, who I know is a terrific comedian.
Yeah.
And I think he's done the Grand Ole Opry more than anybody.
You're probably.
He's there all the time at this.
It's really incredible.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
What is
'Cause
that? I
went-
don't know what that is.
The Grand Ole Opry is down in Nashville. It's the very famous country western place that's been going on. It used to be the Ryman Theater, and then they opened the Opry. And everyone played there. Willie Nelson, whoever it is, you play there.
Oh, that's where Mike
Binder was going.
Binder was going. yeah.
Right. So I was there one night to see a show, and they go, Henry Cho will be here. And I couldn't believe it, you know. And they said, this guy's been here like 50 times.
Oh, wow. I don't know who he is.
He's a comedian. He's Korean, but he has a very, very thick Tennessean accent, which is really like a funny. It's just funny coming out of this idea of what you think a Korean person is going to speak like.
Ah.
So yeah, he's great
Did they ever think you were related with the same last?
all the time.
Yeah.
But we probably are at some juncture, at some point in our lineage related. I'm sure.
So
Most Chos
Asian-
are.
I don't know if this is true, but I thought of it. Asian people's last names are very short.
Yeah, some.
Some other longer ones, like
Yeah, like if you're in Thailand, the last names are really, really long. They're like longer than they're. I can't even.
longer than Polish names. It can't be.
Way longer than like
Really?
twice
That's like 14
as long.
letters of Polish.
Yeah.
The average.
They're much longer than even Polish. They think that Thai names are probably the longest names.
Thailand is a long name for an Asian country. China's short. Japan, Korea, Thailand. That's a longer name.
That was one of my first jokes. I said I was going to get some ties. I told someone I'm going to Thailand. Do you need any ties?
Yeah.
That's an early.
Very good, excellent. But the Thai names are really long, and I think I'm not Thai, so I don't know. But I think it has something to do with in Thai culture, nobody can have the same name as you. So the way that they spell their names are very, very long. And
Can you think of any or one name? Thai name?
Sympathosathone.
Oh well, that's an easy one.
Yeah.
I think that's I mean, it's a terrible example, but it's somebody who was a victim of Jeffrey Dahmer. Sympathosathone. I can't even say it, and I'm Asian.
Have you done stand-up in Asian countries?
I've done stand-up comedy in China and in Singapore, which is a city, country. It's kind of like its own place. Oh, and Conrac's sympathone is Laos. But I think he's also from Thai descent. Anyway, and I'm also probably saying it wrong. But I've done comedy in Korea. I've done Saturday Night Live in Korea.
Wow.
Which they have a version of it, which is just like the one in New York, but it's in Korea. And
Do you speak Korean?
I can speak Korean, not great, but I can speak it well enough to do a little bit of comedy and also get by.
When you go to Korea, are you received as like the promised child?
No, but I am. Well, the comics there really are very respectful and they're really excited when I come around. But not in the rest of show business because Korean show business is so huge. You know, the movie industry and the television industry is massive and it's its own thing. They have their own stars, but often the stars that are there will acknowledge me and they will be excited.
That's cool.
Or like in China too, I've gotten really, people like Michelle Yeoh were like excited. I got to meet her in the 90s and she was really excited. And I got to hang out with people like Chow Yun-fat and I was in a John Woo film. So I've got to hang out with some of these the big stars in Hong Kong. So there is a kind of affection that they have for Asian American people doing this. So it's cool.
Are there things that you're not allowed to talk about when you perform in China or in Korea? Like,
Yes.
Can you make fun of North Korea?
Yeah, you can make fun of North Korea. When you're in South Korea, they really don't like it if you refer to South Korea as ever being poor or ever being like a third world country, which it used to be. Korea used to be a very poor country and a really difficult country. And that's how my earliest memories of being in Korea were of poverty and a lot of like it just a lot of that Korea doesn't exist. They don't want any acknowledgement of that anymore. So you can't make any jokes about that, which is really, I mean, I don't even know, like, I have a couple of jokes that I think that, like, veered there, and they just rejected that for television.
I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, like, when I went to Israel, Jewish, so when I go to Israel, it's really special for me to perform there.
Mm-hmm.
You go to Korea and perform, is it, like, the homeland to you?
Yeah, it's really special. It's really exciting. But it's also, I'm like not able to perform at my capacity because language barrier. And I'll do comedy in English and they'll subtitle it and they'll like underline or highlight the part where they're supposed to laugh. So it's kind of like, it sort of defeats the purpose of doing when you're telling people where to laugh. It's really funny, but it's, I'm not quite like as good as I should be, or I wish I was.
Are they startled in a way that they're not as here if you go into certain subjects, like sexual routines?
Yeah, I think that I mean, I haven't been able to go there because I was only doing stuff on television. So I wasn't able to do that. Like, I wasn't able to push the boundaries. And also, like, I wasn't able to speak, like, plainly in a language that we could both really understand.
Right.
So when I get better at Korean, maybe I can do that.
Mark told me that he saw you on In Bed with Joan Rivers, and that I have to check it out. He just told me I haven't had a chance to. He said
It was such a funny interview.
Oh,
said it
thank
was
you. I love
terrific.
Joan.
I loved her too, and she was amazing. I met her twice, but you were close. She was your mama, right?
Yeah, we were good friends, and she, was really there for me for everything. Like, just an incredible person, and what a great comic. I would go see her, and she would be so filthy, I would be embarrassed, and I'm like really hard to embarrass. Like, I was really like, I can't believe you said that. Like, I would be shocked.
Yeah, I don't think of you as a prude.
No, I'm not at all. And so it was really funny to like I'm like, oh, that's way too far. And she just was so on it. Like, I mean, she was just at her best. Like, even towards the end, like, is really incredible. Like, she could have gone on for a good 20, 30 years.
Easily.
Somebody told me this past week that they think she was murdered. It was a conspiracy theory because she was speaking out. I don't think so.
Yeah,
but
I don't think
but that somebody told me that.
Doctor made a mistake.
Yeah. I think,
It's just a terrible accident.
yeah.
Terrible.
It's just a terrible accident. And, she was healthy. There was nothing stopping her from doing what she's doing. And then she just also worked all the time. So she was active, like her mind was really alive, which is really inspiring. So I hope to, be able to continue on
You will.
as she did. Yes,
I
thank you.
was supposed
Have
to.
you seen her documentary? Of
Yeah,
course you
yeah,
have.
yeah,
There's a part there where somebody yells out something and she tears into this person.
yeah. So
It's
great.
Really amazing.
Yeah, I
She's
love her.
I saw it. Yeah. Yeah. Go ahead.
No.
Sorry.
It's interesting. I I wrote a book years ago with Rich Scheidner. You know Rich?
Of course, I
Yes.
love Rich.
So we wrote a book called I Killed, True Stories of the Road. And we had 200 different road stories. And I had to call Joan. And I said to her on the phone, and I had never met her before. And I said, listen, I just want to tell you, you know, you're one of the first women. And she stops me dead in my tracks. She goes, what'd you say? I said, you're one of the first. She goes, don't call me a woman.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm a comedian.
Yeah.
And I didn't really understand it at that point.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But, yeah. You know, she's just like, I'm just like everyone else. Don't separate me here because I'm this or that.
Right.
So
And she was right.
yeah.
And she almost hung up on me. But I just calmed her down a little because
Good.
she could get a, you know, a little
Yeah,
jumpy.
you know.
I met her at her book signing at Barnes & Noble at the Grove. And I asked her to do my old podcast. And she said, absolutely. And she gave me her number and we set it up. And the day she died is when we were scheduled to do the podcast.
Oh my
How about that?
God.
How about that for
Oh.
getting out of doing the show?
I mean, people will, you know, use any
Yeah.
excuse.
Right.
Come on.
Did you go to her funeral?
Yeah, it was really sad. She was so shocking because not the keynote, but the eulogy. Well, first Howard Stern delivered the eulogy, which was like really appropriate, and it was really amazing because he was crying, and it was really so odd to see Howard Stern crying. You know, you would just never. I never thought I would see that, but it was really meaningful and emotional, and then the main eulogizer was Deborah Norville, and none of us had any idea she was so tight with Deborah Norville. We were all like, who? Like, it was weird. Like when you find out at the dad's funeral, he's been having this affair
Yeah.
for all these years with Deborah Norville. We were like really shocked.
Wow.
But yeah, she had bagpipes, like a huge section of like bagpipe players playing Danny Boy. It was really amazing. It was quite a send off.
It was in New York, wasn't it?
Yes.
I remember seeing it on the news, like clips of it. It was almost like when the Queen died.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it was a similar feeling.
She was like the Queen of New York.
She was like the Queen of New York,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
absolutely.
How was her apartment?
I never went to the one in New York. I only went to her house here, which was actually Melissa's house
Okay.
here. So, which is of course
In the
palace,
Palisades.
a palace in the Palisades.
Palace.
Because the apartment in New York, I've seen photos and it just looked ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also very palatial.
Yeah.
I was at Melissa's house with Kylie. She once interviewed her for the Jewish Journal. So I was at that house in the Palisades. And she had all these people around, publicists and people telling her, you know, say this, say that, sit there in the light. It was the most show busy thing I ever saw. It was like, you sit there, the light's coming in here. I'm like, it's a newspaper interview. Like, well, they're going to take pictures. But she was really nice. Melissa was very, very nice.
Yeah, she's awesome.
Yeah.
So I think I told you, you know, I was working with Seinfeld last weekend in Toronto.
Yeah.
And he said hello.
Yes.
And he's a big fan.
I love him.
And you know, you've been together with him a few times, right?
Yeah, I love him. I've gotten to work with him a number of times, and you know, he gave me my very first vote of confidence in the '80s. You know, and I got to open for him when I was really, really young, and so you know, I was just always like such a fan, and you know, I think of him still as sort of like just a king, like to me.
Yeah.
I love him.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
I've been on the road with him for 20 years, and
Amazing.
I can sit and still watch every set
Yeah.
and learn.
So fun.
It's crazy, right?
He's so great. And he loves comedy. Like, he loves comedy.
Beyond anything else in the world.
He just adores it. So
Yeah.
it's really fun to enjoy that with him. 'Cause I admire him so much.
It's one of the great honors of my life to actually be able to work on routines with him.
Mm-hmm.
Like we did this thing a couple of weeks ago where I had a new thing I wanted to do. And there's, you know, a lot of people, like 5,000, 4,000 people out there.
Yeah.
So it's hard to bring in a lot of new stuff.
Yeah.
So we made a pact, like two guys, you know, okay, I'm going out with this new bit, and you're going out with a new bit. And then right before we went to the theater, I said, did you work on it? He goes, yep, and you? And we went out and did it. It was,
That's terrific.
It's so great.
yeah.
How
yeah.
did you come to open for him in the 80s?
I entered a college comedy competition. I lied and said I was in college. I wasn't in college. I was a teenage high school dropout. And I lied, but I won the West Coast portion. It was the prize was to open for Jerry Seinfeld in Daytona Beach. So I won the West Coast. The Midwest was won by John Glazer. And the East Coast was won by a band called Red Johnny and the Round Guy, which featured John DiMaggio, who was many of the voices of all of our animation things that we love, including Futurama. So the three of us, these acts, we went and we opened for Jerry, and it was such an amazing thing. And Jerry took me aside and said, if you decide to continue with stand-up comedy, you will have a very successful career because you have a very unique point of view. And I thought that was such a great thing to say. Like, I was really amazed. And not that I think I would have ever quit. It's just an amazing thing to have somebody to say that to you. So I was so impressed. But I ended up many years later telling the organizers of that contest that I lied to get in. They're like, "Oh, we don't care."
Oh.
They didn't care about it. But I was lucky.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't say that to everybody.
Yeah.
Trust me
Yeah.
on that one. And he's a fan. So that's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I love him.
And he had such foresight to know that also, that you became such one of my favorite comics.
thank
You're
you.
Terrific.
Thank you.
And that Jerry saw that in you so early is
Yeah.
pretty impressive.
It's
You know
super
who
cool.
saw it about Jerry was Rodney Dangerfield.
Oh, really?
I'll tell you, this kid's going to go somewhere one day.
He's got potential,
I used to see Rodney at not the Comedy Store, the Laugh Factory,
Sure.
with in a bathrobe.
Yes.
With his balls hanging out?
Not with his balls hanging out, maybe, but usually just sort of
You would
in
know.
a bathrobe.
You would know.
Yeah.
If they were.
And like a tank top. Are they called tank tops? I guess you would say sort of an A-frame. We don't want to say wife beater. That's what
Bad.
it's called. But
I understand.
it's he was in a tank top and maybe pajama pants and
He wore drawstring pants to the club there.
yeah,
Like these jogging, and they were falling off him, and he kept tying
Yeah.
them.
and a red bathrobe.
Yeah. Well, he was a collector of bathrobes.
Mm-hmm.
Like some people collect, like Steve Martin collects art.
Yeah,
Rodney collected bathrobes.
right.
And how I know this was, again, a Jerry story. We went up to see him in New York at his apartment. We were going to see Rodney. He had done the Tonight Show when comedians were doing 15 minutes on the Tonight Show, not 6 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
He did 9 standing and 6 or so on panel. This is a lot of material.
Yeah.
So I said to him once, I said, Rodney, can we ever see your old Tonight Show? He said, why don't you come up to my apartment? So we called him. And I told Jerry, I said, I bet you he answers the door wearing his bathrobe. And he goes, never. We're guests. He's going to be dressed in his shirt. And I said, I bet Jerry $1. We open the door. He's wearing the bathrobe. We start laughing. Rodney says, what are you laughing about? I said, well, I made him a bet you have the bathrobe. He takes us in the bedroom, opens a closet. He's got about 100 bathrobes.
Wow.
And he starts explaining, I'll get this one in Paris in 1963. And I got this one here. It was unbelievable. It was
Wow.
just-
A bathrobe
Incredible.
collector. You ever see that documentary on Gilbert that he was collecting all the free stuff from hotels? He had
Yes.
suitcases and suitcases of little shampoos and
And Joan was
Mouthwash.
known for taking stuff, like whatever they left backstage for her, she just collected. Because there was always, when you're a big star like that, there's a bottle of wine and there's basket of this. So
right.
I think she talked about the little shampoos.
Yeah, the little shampoos are great. Sometimes I take them, and my wife goes, "Why did you take those little shampoos?"
I had about 100 of them. I gave them to a lady that cleans the house.
Oh yeah.
She's very happy to get them. Very happy.
But Rodney Dangerfield is like one that I never got to see him do a set. I always wanted to see him. Who I really always wanted to see that I never saw is Buddy Hackett.
Yeah.
I would have really. I used to watch his comedy. Like he would have these comedies, sort of. I guess they were sort of specials, but they weren't called specials back then. So I don't know if they were. I don't know. Something. But these performances. So I would see these old ones on VHS from a long time ago. They were just so electric and dirty.
Yeah.
I loved
He
that.
got very blue.
Yeah, I love
Last
that.
couple of years. He put out an album called The Chinese Waiter.
Mm-hmm.
He recorded it with no audience, so there's no laughs on it. It's just him doing material with nobody laughing
So
at
great.
anything.
I love it.
Yeah, I have a copy. I have 600 comedy albums.
Amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing.
That's
do
amazing.
you have a lot of comedy albums?
I don't. I think now in the era of sort of like, whatever streaming, I probably have like saved comedy specials, but not albums. I was never one to collect them or vinyl in general. So no,
I bought the collection from somebody. Actually, it was from Rich Heider.
nice.
We used to collect them on the road because we go on the road, and one week I'm in Albany, and one week I'm in Atlanta, and we just go to old record stores and find. And most of these albums are not funny. They were very cheap to, make. Just behind a microphone, a couple of people in a club or something. It wasn't like producing a band.
Right.
So they made thousands of them.
And a lot of comedy doesn't hold up as well because it's so, of its time.
Yeah.
So instead of you have things like the Woody Allen nightclub years, which is really evergreen and works just as well. I was just listening to a piece of it the other day because I remember I told you I met this comedian in front of the Laugh Factory who was just terrific, from Montreal, and I feel bad I don't remember his name, but I'll remember it at some point and mention him. And he told me that he performs a lot in Paris, and I told him about my friend Sammy in Paris, who became a big star, and he came to New York before that, and I helped him write some of his first jokes, and he told me, if you ever want to come to Paris, I'm going to set you up with a hotel, and I'm going to get you shows, because you helped me out. And I took him up on it, and I went to Paris, and I performed, and he got this guy who was my doppelganger, the Muslim me, this guy named Wahid. I'm Jewish, he's Muslim, but we looked like identical. He could have, been my fill-in in a movie. And I went on stage with Wahid, and I did a joke in English, and he did my joke in French. And then, no one would, you get a little laugh when I did in English, big laugh in French. So Wahid passed away, I found out from that comic at the Laugh Factory that night. And he was my age, and he was my weight, and I freaked out, and I couldn't sleep all night. And a friend of mine told me, he goes, remember Woody Allen, the nightclub years? Eggs Benedict? Go back and listen to that joke again. You know the joke? Mm-mm. He goes, I have a friend, Eggs Benedict, and I had a pain in the chestal area. And I thought, it is the chestal area, so I was worried. My friend Eggs Benedict also had this pain. I thought, I'll send Eggs to the doctor. He'll get checked out. And I'll find out if it's something, then I'll go. And if it's nothing, I won't, right? That's, I'm not doing it word for word, but basically he sends his friend to the doctor and they say, oh, it's nothing, it's heartburn. He goes, and I'm so happy. I saved $25 and I find out it's not a big deal. And I call Eggs the next day. He's dead. I freak out. I go to the hospital. I get checked. $125 later. And they tell me it's heartburn.
Heartburn, right.
I go to Egg's house and I see his mother. And I said, did he suffer much? And she goes, no, it was quick. The truck hit him and that was that.
Right, so, that was a great routine. That's a great album. It's a double or triple album or something. Woody Allen.
So that album really holds up. But a lot of albums, they're about like Kennedy or whatever, you listen to them and they don't do much for you now.
Any specials that stick in your mind from other people that you?
I will like the ones from that era would be like Rudy Ray Moore's comedy. I love also the band intermixing with because there would be quite big shows because he would just do the comedy and then he would have like this band with horns and everything and dancers. So it was just a very different experience. So there were things that were like. Not the Dolomite movies, but they're like sort of like the album experiences, like the comedy or LaWanda Page. LaWanda Page was the best.
I don't know who LaWanda Page.
LaWanda Page. You ever watch Sanford and Son?
Sure.
She's
Aunt the Aunt.
She's Aunt Esther.
Aunt Esther.
Okay.
She was always she had a brick in her purse, and she would always be hitting Red Fox, and they would do. I think she was his opener. And they would do shows together, but her comedy's really, really, really blue, really dirty, and it's just so funny. But yeah, any kind of Rudy Ray Moore comedy, and Red Fox as well.
Sure, I have always on Laugh Records.
Yeah,
because he did what they called the Chitlin Circuit back then, and there was a million records that he made.
I got to go back and check out these people that I don't know.
I saw Slappy White open for Red Fox in Vegas
that's great.
towards the end of their career, and Red came out. He had this mug. And it was a big tit in the middle, and he just got...
Just really, it's just so funny. I was in a movie with Rudy Ray Moore. It was his last movie, and it was called Fakin' the Funk. And it was such a stupid movie, but actually really funny. It's I played it. It was a Chinese exchange student who lands in the middle of South Central in the 90s. So I'm like exchanged to like just the South Central in the 90s. So it was very like it was very broad comedy, but Rudy Ray Moore's in it, and he's just it was really exciting just to be around him. He was very old, but it was really cool. But yeah, I love those old
Sure.
albums.
Did you
They're
like
fun.
the Eddie Murphy film Dolomite? Did you think it did a good job of?
Oh yeah, you know, and also like really the energy, and also because Eddie's the fan of that, like he's the biggest fan of that, so it was a perfect tribute. I
Yeah.
love that. Yeah.
I gotta. What
I've
was
got
the
the
name of
Dolomite albums.
The person who had the brick in the purse.
LaWanda Page.
Wanda Page.
And
I gotta
Esther,
check
she
her
was
out.
great.
She was great.
After Leno was talking about Harold Lloyd on the show, I went and started watching his stuff.
Amazing.
I
Well, he's
didn't know
famous from
about
hanging from the clock.
the clock. Yeah, I knew
Yeah.
about the clock, but I didn't know that he blew off his fingers and he had rubber fingers. Did you
That's
know that?
right. Yes, I do. And that's why he wore gloves
Yeah.
in the movies. Absolutely. You ever do roasts?
I was the last roast that I did was the roast of Drew Carey, and it was in New York, and I was sitting next to Joey Adams, and he walked back and fell through this hole onto the ground, and he died 6 weeks later.
Wow.
It was so horrible, and we were all. I was next. It was Joey Adams on one side, and then Dom Herrera on the other side.
Wow.
And we were all subpoenaed to go to the trial because Cindy Adams was suing the Friars Club for negligence, and for whatever reason we didn't have to go. But I think because they looked at the footage and they saw that we weren't turned around at the time that he fell through, so we weren't adequate like as witnesses. But yeah, that was really the one thing that really stuck in my mind. But I'd gone to a number of roasts, and also we used to go to the Friars Club here when it was in Beverly
Right,
Hills,
sure.
and they would have like sort of roast like events just on a weeknight, and you would go and don't park in Milton Berle's parking space, whatever you do. He had a really good parking space right in the front of the garage. And he would come, like Milton Berle would like come out, and everybody would be out and hanging out, and like Tom Dreesen and
Sure.
all those like old comics, Kip Addotta,
Sure.
all those people,
Wow.
that I remember as in my mind, like, it's so long ago, because my entrance into show business was at the very end of old Hollywood. So you would see people like, I mean, you would just see Jane Meadows like every day.
Wow. Unbelievable. It's so great you know all these people.
Yeah.
I mean, or seen them. It's amazing.
Yeah, I was interested in it because I was like, I'm sort of like in Hollywood where all this stuff is happening, and then some of those older people were still around. Like I was on one of the first TV shows that I did was Bob Hope's Young Comedian Special. So I was on that with Caroline. Caroline was on, and we both wore Betsy Johnson little like fake Jackie Kennedy suits from the 90s or 80s. But yeah, so I remember this old era of Hollywood very well.
I
Nice.
never told you this. I was in the Friars Club in New York. I got sworn in or whatever you call it by Freddie Roman, and I was so broke as a young comic in New York at the time. The only thing I could afford to do was to eat at the Friars Club because you could sign it onto your bill. So I couldn't afford like a $2 slice of pizza, but I would go for like an $80 meal at the Friars Club. And I ran up such a big bill at the Friars Club that I got banned from the Friars Club until I was able to pay it off. And I finally paid it all off, and I got back in, and then they closed down. But my friend would be like, how is it that I would bring my friends too. I'd say, he'd say, you want to go to the diner or something? I say, I can't afford the diner, but we could go to the Friars Club.
And bring them along.
What
are you
was it
eating here?
like? How did they stay open? I mean, the Friars Club would just was it sort of like the Soho place, like Soho
I may
House
have single-handedly put him out of business, I think.
I mean, I don't remember. I know I was a member, but I never actually went to like use it as a club. What were the aspects of the club? Where it had like sort of social areas?
There was a
and-
fitness room that I used.
Okay.
There was a sauna.
Okay.
I mean, I made it like my home because I was broke and it was much nicer than my house. So I'd be there all the time.
Yeah, that's so cool.
That's
It
how I
was a
became
card
friends
game.
with Gilbert.
George Burns
Yeah.
and all these guys would be playing cards there all the time in
Yeah.
the afternoons.
I got to
That's
go to
great.
they did a Jerry Lewis roast once, and I got to sit at the table because Pat Cooper was always very nice to me. He said, "Come, sit with the big guys." So I sat with him, some of the members of the Sopranos, Gilbert, Norm Crosby, Robert Klein.
Wow.
It was like the cool and Pat Cooper, and all around this table was one of the great tables I'd ever been at.
Yeah.
Did you know
Yeah.
Gilbert?
I love Gilbert. Yeah.
Did you know
yeah.
him?
I knew him. Yeah, he was great.
I think you guys would get along.
We got along very
yeah,
well.
I can't imagine not.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
adored him.
Yeah.
I adored him. It's odd that he's gone because he was so young to me. In my mind, he's still very young.
He
He
wasn't
was-
that old when he died. No, it just
No.
wasn't. It just he got the.
A very sweet, generous, and extremely hilarious guy.
Such a great guy.
But Mark and he were like really. They started out together.
Yeah, we did when we weren't getting on at the clubs when we first started, but they made us regulars. You know how that is. So we would be at the Improv in New York on 44th and 9th. We'd stay there till 10:30 at night, not get on, and then we walk over to Catch a Rising Star, which was about an hour walk because we knew we weren't going to get on there either. But you need to show up,
yeah.
and we would go out at night after the clubs with Jimmy Brogan and Gilbert, myself, and maybe one or two other people. And Gilbert was so cheap; he would never buy anything, nothing. And we'd all be eating, and he would just sit like this. We'd go, Gilbert, you going to eat? He goes, until one of us broke down and bought him something.
Yeah.
Every time, do you want a glass of milk? Oh, yeah.
Was he
Aw.
doing the Mickey Mouse on acid bit
Yeah,
back
yeah,
then?
yeah, sure. He would hold trays,
Yeah.
the waitress trays or something like that.
Yeah.
with Mickey Mouse and stuff like that. Yeah. What's the most money you ever spent on a dinner?
On a dinner?
Going out?
Going out? I don't know. I mean,
You ever spend a lot?
yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Probably a lot if it was like for a lot of people. But the most expensive dinners I've had have been comped because I was doing I was writing or I was working as a journalist. So that way I got to have meals in Copenhagen at Noma, which is very expensive.
Yeah, sure.
So it's like was at the time like the #1 restaurant in the world. So I got to eat with them and also stay for like staff meal and then have another service. So, but yeah, the most expensive meals I don't think I've ever really spent like that much.
I ask because I have a friend. He goes out with his wife, and they'll spend $2,000 for dinner.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, they'll get like a $400 bottle of wine.
No.
And then, they'll be at some expensive sushi place where it's $100 a piece, or something
Does his
insane.
friend want to sponsor the show?
Well, I think it's the booze. That's what's really
Yeah,
expensive.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I can see like if you're going to like omakase, like a really nice fancy sushi, but I don't know. Like that to me seems excessive. I think it would be excessive to spend that much
I couldn't do
for
it.
food. I wouldn't enjoy it.
It's a nice.
What's the most you've spent, Mark, on a meal?
So you got to remember, I eat vegan.
Right.
So
$20.
yeah, I mean, basically, it doesn't cost anything for me.
Right.
If I'm at a real high end vegan place, $35 or something like
Right.
that. Then I drink club soda, so I'm a really cheap date.
Yeah.
Yeah, 35 to me is a lot too.
I went out with my wife once. We went to this beautiful restaurant, and she got chicken, and hers was like $85, $90. I got a baked potato and spinach. It was $4.
Yeah. Yeah.
When
I
I-
mean, yeah.
When I would go out to eat with Ralphie May, I used to open for Ralphie May, and we'd go out to eat after the show or something. And I used to joke about this. I say he didn't order off the menu. He'd order the menu.
Right.
But he would really be like, give me everything on this page, this page. I'll take this, that. Like they literally just bringing out everything they made, and he was very generous to the staff, and he tipped a lot. And as much as he ate, I ate, there was still a lot of food left over, and just leave it there. He didn't want leftovers or anything.
So we were doing a show in Israel. You know Avi Lieberman?
Mhm.
Okay, so there's like 5 of us. And he takes this group to Israel. So the guy that runs the event there, this Rabbi Mandel, he takes us all to lunch. He says, lunch tomorrow, guys, okay? So I get the group together before, and I say, listen, when we get there, just order the most, as much as you want of everything. We're going to play a prank on the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like you order like 2 bottles of wine. You did. So I get there early, and I said to the waiter, whatever we order, we don't want. We just. So gets to Avi. He goes, you got wine? He goes, yeah. He goes, let me get a bottle of red, and I'm going to take a bottle of white with me. And he orders 2 main. So I'm watching the rabbi go. Then he gets to the next person they order, and he gets to me, and I order like $300. He goes, hey, what's going on here? He's like, completely. It was fun.
Off.
Are your folks still around?
Yeah.
Okay. So, because you talk very openly about sex,
Yes.
have they ever commented? Are you okay
Yes.
with them?
Well, my mom is really happy because now she's losing her hearing and she's refusing to get a hearing aid. So I don't have to listen to any more of your comedy. She's like really happy about it. I'm like, thanks. Good.
And your dad?
He loves it. He's like, he's a very big comedy fan. Always has been. Loves like Richard Pryor, loves like Eddie Murphy, loves all that stuff. So, he's always been just really into it, loves it.
So they hear you talking about the sex. Could you listen to them talking about it?
I don't think so.
Right.
I mean, I think that is a double standard. I think I would just really check out. I would
That's
definitely
revenge.
not.
That's revenge.
I would be really disassociating at that
Yeah,
point.
I think so. I used to do a joke. I said, my grandfather, I can't imagine my grandfather saying to my grandmother, flip over, babe. It's just, yeah, right. We can't hear.
You don't want to hear it.
No,
you don't want to hear it.
I totally agree on that one. It's crazy. So let's see what else we have here. There's another one here. So this plane makes an emergency landing. Qatar. The wife discovers during the flight, scrolling through her husband's phone, that he's been having affairs on the flight. She freaks on the flight. How do you think she found he was asleep? How do you think she opened the phone?
Well, she probably just put the phone up to his face.
Close.
Very close.
Very
Right?
good.
Very close.
Yeah, very close. Took his finger and put it.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Smart.
Excellent.
Smart lady.
Yeah. Very smart.
She must have known, though, something was up.
Well,
right?
you always know, right? There's always some indication
I hope not.
something's amiss. I think everybody always knows.
I hope not.
No?
No, I'm 34 years married.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been pretty good about it.
Good. That's
Yeah.
good.
Would you ever put your wife's finger on the phone when she's sleeping to see what's
So
going on?
one of the things I'm most proud of in the relationship is that my wife can pick up the phone and scroll all she
Yeah.
wants. And she does it in the car, like she wants to clean up my phone. So
My wife checks my emails. My
Yeah.
wife will say, "You didn't get back to that person." I said, how do you know?
mine too, because
Yeah.
they want you to make more money.
Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
Right.
That's
Well-
good.
What would have to happen for you to stop a plane in mid-flight?
Diarrhea.
Wow.
I mean, I am so scared of having diarrhea on a flight. Like when that person had diarrhea and they had to turn the plane around. That
Oh, you were on a
happened.
flight like that?
No, it was in the news. That
Oh.
happened last year or something, where there was a
Really?
flight to Barcelona and somebody had diarrhea, but they had it like all over their seat and in the aisles,
Right.
and they had to turn the plane around. It was a biohazard,
Right.
so that could be me.
I got one.
Yes. By the way, I have an uncle who was fired. He worked for the post office, and he was fired for farting at work. And he sued and lost the case.
Wow.
Yeah. They had all these people come in as witnesses to how horrible
The fart
Really?
was.
those farts were. And
That's-
they'd been telling him to stop it for years.
That's sitcom worthy.
Yeah, and the judge
Yeah.
found him guilty.
Wow.
Guilty of flatulence in the 3rd degree. Rage ritual goes viral as women allow themselves to express deep-rooted anger or sadness. Rage rituals are retreats, and they're gaining more popularity. Participants scream and beat sticks on the ground to let out any suppressed emotions. Have you heard of this?
I haven't, but that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah?
You know, like to let it all out. Like, don't they have those in like, it's kind of like they're sort of craze now where they have bars where you could throw a hatchet.
Right.
You know, there's like axe throwing, things like that. But yeah, I think anything that is sort of
I did
cathartic
that.
like that.
What?
years ago, I did something called Gestalt therapy, and we took a bataka, it was called, and just bang it on the couch. But these women, because I read this story too, they're very enraged about it. I'm not exactly sure what, but I know you've had, and you made the film Kill the Rapist, right? Which was terrific.
Thank you.
And how did you work through? You want to? Can
Oh
you
yeah,
talk about it?
well I write music and I play music and I love to find things that are sort of like, oh well maybe this is something that you need to write a song about this. And so I think it was really fun to make a movie about, like, it was like a video. It was a video for the song "I Want to Kill My Rapist," and so we had all of these kids chasing this guy down and like beating him, and it was really funny to me. But it was also like it's a way to make that sort of a real thing, like take it out on film, make a movie about this rage, or make a rage experience where you can healthily expel all of this anger and frustration.
Well, you had this situation
Yeah.
by an uncle.
Yeah. Well, no, he was it was family relation, but not everybody's also an uncle in my, like everybody in Asian culture is like an uncle or an auntie. So he wasn't exactly related, but yeah, but I've had a lot of sexual assault in my lifetime over many experiences, awful things. So I think the cumulative effect, it wasn't just one thing, it was like a whole bunch of things.
How did you work through it?
Oh, I've had a lot of therapy.
Right.
And a lot of different kinds of therapy. The most effective, I think, is EMDR.
I had
which,
that.
yeah,
The
EMDR,
tapping?
yeah, tapping. And
It was
lights
scary.
and the paddles.
And
yeah.
the eyes, right? You have to move your eyes.
Move your eyes. But it disrupts the way that your pattern of thinking is. So I found that to be the most helpful.
Do you think it's... I know somebody, I'm not going to say who it is, but she made a bit of a career off of talking about a rape that she encountered, but she told me privately that she was never raped. She was groped. But she said nobody cares about grope, so I said it's rape. Do you think that's fair?
I mean, I think anything that is like traumatic like that, you can't, like, it's hard to quantify what's trauma. People experience trauma for all sorts of things, so it's really it's the experience that the person has and the relationship they have to the trauma, as opposed to the severity of what it is looked at from an outside angle. So I think it just depends.
I felt like it was cheating a little bit because they bumped up the thing to make it more of a thing in order to get recognition. I don't know. I just didn't. I'm not going to say who it is or what it is, but I just felt like it was a little bit cheating. You could do a thing about being groped, but I don't feel like you should be allowed to speak for people who were raped,
Right.
because people who were raped went through a totally different thing than what you went through. I don't know.
Right. I understand.
I felt like that was a little bit not fair.
I had that therapy, and I went so deep. Like, she had me close my eyes, and she said she had never seen anybody go this deep in the first session. I never went back to her. This is the woman that asked me. She goes, "Do you think I'm a witch?" And it was an interesting question, and I wasn't sure what the answer was.
Maybe.
Do you believe in that?
Yeah, totally. I love a witch.
And
Yes.
one more point. What about all the rape victims that found, like, oh, here's somebody who's a voice for me now and knows what I went through, and go and confide in this person, and they didn't actually go through rape? I'm sure you could say, yeah, I went through a lot of the same parables by being groped, but now you have people who were actually raped coming to someone who wasn't raped for advice on how to get over a rape when that person
I
wasn't
understand.
raped. All right, anyway.
Well, it's like a super complicated thing because people have different relationships to their body and like what any transgression is. So it's sort of it's like we can't really define exactly what somebody's. I mean, the way you're talking about it, it makes it seem like somebody's using their trauma and worsening it and fictionalizing it in order to gain some power in some other area.
Yeah, that's
which
how
I
I
think
see it.
is probably wrong. But what I'm saying is that sometimes, whatever transgression it is, it can be just as traumatic as rape for a different person.
I hear that.
I do too.
Yeah. Ready?
Red Lobster? You ever eat that?
Red Lobster. I have trauma about Red Lobster closing.
Uh-oh.
That feels like rape to
Wow.
me. When Red Lobster, I love Red
You
Lobster.
know about the story of them closing?
Yeah, I love Red Lobster. I think that would be really unfortunate. Where are we gonna get our shrimp?
Yeah, well, this is the thing, because people like you come in and they eat so many shrimp, they're going out of business.
It's so good.
All you can eat? How many do you eat?
I could put away about 20.
Are they're not the big ones, right? They're the small ones?
Not the big ones. They don't really do the big ones. So the ones that they have, like, how do they count? They're like a 25 count, 25 per pound. I could do 20, 25. Yeah.
You ever have the cheddar baked biscuits?
So good.
Those were the best. So I used to have a roommate. Actually, it wasn't my roommate, but he was my roommate's niece's boyfriend. But he was always over the place. Anyway, and he worked as a waiter. He's a comic, and he also worked as a waiter at Red Lobster. And he'd always hook up all the comics with these cheddar baked biscuits.
So good.
They were so good. They were like crack, and there's nothing else like them. I've never found nobody does anything like them.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a biscuit. You haven't had it, I'm assuming.
No.
It's like a biscuit, like a southern biscuit, but packed with melted cheddar cheese.
Wow.
Terrific. We used to call him Cheddar Baked Polly. His name was Paul. We call him Cheddar Baked Polly. Wasn't that creative, but
How come
Delicious.
yeah.
How come you assumed I never had one?
Well,
Vegan.
Vegan,
There you go.
kosher.
The whole thing.
There's a lot of reasons.
Are biscuits not cheese biscuits not
Well,
kosher?
Red Lobster's pretty unkosher. You
Yeah.
know, I keep kosher
Shellfish.
now, but I didn't back then, and I would go for those biscuits. Even then, I wouldn't eat the shellfish.
They might make things with lard,
Yeah.
and if you're keeping kosher, you can't have lard.
Right.
Comes from the
But I loved, they had the Red Lobster in Times Square. We used to go there,
right.
and he'd hook us up with the biscuits. And it was such an exciting place because you have like fish tanks all around you, and they're all lit up blue. And it's just like a very, and everything feels oceany, it's made to feel like that. I don't know what it is about, like, fish places always make you feel like you're in the ocean, but
Right.
like steak places don't make you feel like you're in the
Like
Sahara or
in
something.
in a barn.
I mean, in
if
the
you opened a
Serengeti.
restaurant, what kind would you open?
Yeah.
Did you ever want to open one?
I have wanted to open when I was drinking, I wanted to open like a wine bar. I thought it would be great to have like a beautiful, like a natural wine bar, and then serve like bar snacks that were really delicious. And but now I'm sober, so I don't want to do that. But I did love like a bar, like a beautiful natural wine bar with like delicious food. That would be something to do. But I do like cooking. I would have a Korean restaurant. I would love to do that.
Could you cook?
I could cook, yeah.
And you could actually.
I can make good Korean food. I can make good vegan Korean food too.
Wow.
It's a lot of fermentation, so it's just like you can make things that have the feeling of meat, or like a kind
Sure.
with tofu and
Sure.
stuff like that. So good.
I cook with tofu all the time.
Yeah, it's so
All
good.
the time. How long are you sober?
8 years.
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
really good.
Good.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More than 8 years, though, right?
Yeah.
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 I'm just saying.
Yeah. 39 years.
Amazing.
It is amazing.
It's amazing.
It's unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
Are you happier?
Oh, so much happier.
It's
It's a different life.
That's amazing too, right?
Yeah.
Did you ever think you would be happier?
No.
Me
I
too.
didn't know that I could be happy.
Exactly. When I was a kid and in my 20s, I thought I was just going to be miserable
Yeah.
my entire life. If
Yeah.
I don't kill myself first, I'm just going to be friggin' miserable.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's over.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, one day, after some time, you wake up
Right.
and you go, I'm actually not a really depressed person.
No, not at all.
I'm not miserable. I'm fun to be around.
I'm doing good.
It's crazy, right?
It's so fun.
It's insane.
Yeah.
How do you balance it? Like when you go to clubs and stuff?
Yeah, it's to me it's not I don't know. I didn't really drink in clubs anyway. So I did all of my drinking on my own. So the club was never a place of imbibing in anything. It was
Right.
always a workplace. It was always my job. So it wasn't, I never associated it with partying ever, so that's probably what's good about it, is that I just
Right, you didn't
never
associate it with.
never made the connection.
Right. One day, when I got an American Express card, I was at the Improv in Dallas, and I had this idea. I said, I want to buy everybody a drink tonight. And there were like 400 people. So I told the waitress I want to do this.
Yeah.
So she runs the card, and then American Express calls because it's a huge bill.
Yeah.
And she says, the lady wants to talk to you from American Express. So she says, Mr. Schiff? I go, yes. She goes, it seems like you just spent a tremendous amount. On what? So I said, I'm going to buy everybody here a drink. She goes, oh, really? Have you been drinking yourself, sir? And she talked me out of buying.
Oh,
she
wow.
said, listen, why don't we do this? Why don't you forget it tonight? If you want to buy them a drink tomorrow, then you can do that.
Oh, that's great.
It was like an
Wow.
angel out of nowhere.
That's beautiful.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
You never know when it's going to hit you, where it's going to come from.
You
Yeah.
know, I used to have a drink when I would perform, and you know, you can always get free drinks at the clubs.
He's a normie.
So yeah, but I remember I was working with Ralphie May at Bananas, but it wasn't the one in Poughkeepsie. I think it was a different
New
Bananas.
Jersey.
In New Jersey,
Or
Hasbrook
Philadelphia.
Heights. I
There was
think.
one in Jersey and one in Philly, I know.
And I got a whiskey before the show, and Ralphie's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I got a whiskey." You know, he says, "No." He says, "You can do that all you want after, but be professional. You don't drink before the show."
Mm-hmm.
And so I never did again.
Yeah.
I never did it again. And it, you know, it probably saved me so many ways from going down bad paths because I really listened to him. He said, professional comics don't drink at the club.
Yeah.
I
it's
never
true.
got drunk before a show.
Right.
I was sober. It was afterwards that I would
Yeah.
Very sadly, at the end, he was anything but sober on stage. But
Mhm.
but when he was in his better days,
Mm-hmm.
he knew not to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a good guy.
So, you a religious person at all?
No.
Spiritual person?
Yes.
That's it. I know the big difference. So this woman here, she's a priest
Mm-hmm.
for the Church of England. She's a priest. Sunday she gives the sermons, and on Saturday night she parties.
Mm.
She goes out, doesn't dress like a priest, dresses like people do that go to clubs and stuff like that. And people are kind of mixed on it, but most people are pretty much okay about it.
Of course.
Priests should be allowed to do that.
Yeah, of course. Whatever you want. It's their choice to do it, I think.
What's the counter argument? Do you have a counter argument?
Being an example of I don't know, maybe it's an old-fashioned thought that the priest, the rabbi, the minister
Mm-hmm.
should maybe be a little more conservative than getting toasted on the weekends. And
But what I like is that
Remember that
she's
woman that-
open about it. It's not hidden. Like if you found out about it, seems a little devious.
remember
like
they fired the mayor or in Denmark or something.
Oh,
She-
right. Yeah.
what
not too long
happened?
ago.
It was like a mayor and it was in Denmark
Yeah.
and she was just partying. She's just out partying with her friends.
And she's kissing you guys and doing all this stuff.
But just
and-
having fun.
Yeah, just
Why
having fun.
not?
But that's not even a religious person. That's a mayor.
But just a sort of person in a sort of place of power, of somebody who should sort of shoulder these responsibilities or these social responsibilities.
So
But
would you be okay if Kamala Harris was out like strip clubs and no, I'm just
I think that's fine. It's fine.
everything's fine.
It's all fine.
But with the priest one, I think it's good because it's like it's out in the open. It's on social media. Like people could decide if this is a spiritual leader for me or not. But if you go to a spiritual leader and you expect them to be living a certain lifestyle, and now you're living a lifestyle based on what they're teaching you, then you find out that they're doing this behind your back. That's pretty bad, right?
Behind your back. It's like those
You know?
those people that come out anti-gay, just preaching about it, these ministers, and then you find that they've been doing this for like 15 years.
Yeah.
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 But yeah, like I mean, I think if you signed up for this type of priest, you know,
fun.
yeah.
Yeah. Could you go to a rabbi that was
No, I don't think so. But that's just my personal. Like, I want the rabbi to be living less fun than I. If he's having more fun than me.
Well, you're going to them for like life counsel.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to have somebody who has sort of maybe
Centered.
a centered, more grounded kind of a lifestyle
Right.
that isn't swayed by partying or whatever.
Right.
So, yeah, I think it depends on what you're looking for.
Were your parents religious people?
Not particularly.
People in Korea, though, are
Yeah.
very religious country.
Very religious. I mean, it's also like very Buddhist and also very Catholic. So there's like pretty strict on both sides. And then there's a lot of different kinds of churches there. But yeah, there's a very big religious community in different ways.
Any attendants, that you believe, like the Buddhists,
No.
some of the things they do? None of
No,
them?
not really. Not. I don't know anything about that.
A lot of Koreans come over here as missionaries from
Yeah.
Korea. In fact, I have a friend who's a comedian. Maybe you know her, Esther Koo.
Oh, I love her.
She's great.
She's lovely.
We used to be neighbors in Brooklyn together, and she used to cook for me. And like 3 a.m, she'd be like, "Come over," and she always made rice. She always made really good rice.
Yeah.
But her parents were missionaries, and they came over, and she grew up in this house where they were like fostering all these different people would be coming and staying there. It was like a church house.
Yeah.
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 So they were spreading the Korean gospel.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I don't know. Is Korean Christian or
There's a lot of
Catholic?
different kinds of Christians and
Yeah.
like lots of Catholics.
Yeah.
Right. For sure. One last one, okay? California subway manager was attacked by a customer who wanted more ham on the sandwich.
Well, why not just ask?
Well,
why
he-
not just
he said-
ask for more ham?
He said he had paid for it, and they disagreed with him, and he wanted 12 more slices on his sandwich.
That's too much
That is a lot. Even,
for a sandwich.
You
I mean,
shouldn't
just
even-
go to like, go to a Jewish deli. Like that's where you
Go to
would
the
get.
supermarket, get a thing of ham with 14 slices, and get some bread and live it up.
Yeah, go to Canner's. Canner's will give you like they won't not ham, but like lots of corned beef.
Yeah.
Or you can get ham at Canner's, can't you?
You think you can?
Yes, you can.
Yeah.
It's not a kosher place.
Mm-hmm.
But
The
it
kosher
is.
style.
There was a place in New York called, what am I forgetting, down on Houston Street.
Katz's?
Katz's Deli.
Yeah.
They had a sign, send a salami to your boy in the Army. It was
Yeah.
from World War II. They used to send food over to
Oh, wow.
Right.
the guys in there. And while you're staying at the counter ordering, let's say making a brisket or a roast beef sandwich, he would give you a piece to eat while you're standing there.
Delicious.
Yeah.
What would make you snap if somebody didn't want to give you something?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not sure if I would ever snap. I mean, I hope I wouldn't. I can be impatient though. Like if I can't find parking, I would
Right.
get really impatient. If somebody stole a parking space, I would be mad.
You seem very, very chill.
I try to be.
Yeah.
Have
I
you
try-
always
I would
been?
like to be. Yeah, I think so.
Oh,
You know,
how did that happen?
Probably.
You just born like that?
I think so.
Because I'm the complete opposite. I'm just a joke.
I think it's all internal. The strife is all internal.
Right. On the outside, inside, you're gray. I had a thing with Gilbert one night. We were young comedians, and we used to go out after the show, and there were 3 or 4 of us. We went to a diner, 4 o'clock in the morning. We're sitting at a booth. Nobody's completely empty. I get coffee, he gets coffee, somebody else. That's all we had. Guy gives us a check, $5 minimum, he says, for each one of us. So, what are you kidding me? $5 minimum. We just have a cup of coffee. There's nobody here. What's it? He goes, it's $25 for 5 cups of coffee. So I said, I'm not paying. And he said, what? I said, I'm not paying for this. We'll pay for the coffee and that's it. He goes, hold on. He goes into the kitchen, comes out with a guy who's about 6'6", maybe about 350 pounds.
Wow.
And he goes, you're not paying? So I said, hold me back, Gilbert. I'm going to pick this guy up and throw him through the window.
Wow.
There was no way possible that I could do that. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And the guy goes, what? I said, I'm going to pick you up right now and just throw you through the window. He said, all right, get out of here. You don't have to pay anything.
Ah,
I got outside.
Great.
I was so filled with stress.
Wow.
yeah.
My knees buckled. I collapsed on the sidewalk, and they had to pick me up and walk me to the corner.
Wow.
Because
Wow.
I shot so much adrenaline into my system.
That's incredible.
Bluffing this guy.
I had a thing not nearly as cool as that, but my little brother was telling me once, he was at summer camp and they had a basketball team and the coach was always benching him. Wouldn't put him on to play because he said the coach was mean to him. He said, you're not good enough to play with the other. And I said, I had this moment where like as an older brother, I'm like, I'm going to go and I'm going to give this coach a piece of my mind doing this to my little brother. So I storm into the gym and I go right up to this coach And I said, listen, you put my brother into the game or else. And I looked up at him, and he was this towering, big, strong, crazy, big built guy. And he wasn't flinching or anything at all and all of a sudden, like, something dropped inside of me, and I just became terrified, petrified. And I just said, I will do something. That's all I had. I'll do something. And then I left, and I was like shaking, like, pulsating. I was like, oh my God, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. But this guy was like, he could have been a wrestler or something.
But this is the wrong time in history to challenge people because people will snap. There's a lot of people snapping out there.
Yeah.
Right.
Be careful.
You got to be careful.
And somebody's going to film it with their iPhone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mark will take on a giant guy in a diner, but he's terrified of squirrels.
I am. I hate girls. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Anything you want to tell us about what's going on? Just
I'm just doing comedy. I'm around.
good.
Just doing stuff.
I think you had a lot of dates, right?
Yeah, always.
Yeah, I saw those.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anywhere?
People can look at my dates at margaretcho.com. So I'm everywhere.
Awesome.
Do you have people open for you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. How
So-
many?
Just one.
Just one.
So
people
is the
have
same
2 or 3
person?
people.
Yeah. It's Daniel Webb all the time.
Daniel, I don't
He's
think I
great.
know. Yeah.
He's
Well,
great.
all Daniels are great.
He's very
My
funny.
personal opinion.
Right,
Yes.
Cool. And you can find my comic books at fairenoughcomic.com and my albums at standuprecords.com. And they just released one of them on vinyl, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
And Mark?
My book, Why Not? Lessons on Comedy, Courage, and Chutzpah, out on Apollo Publishing. So that's out.
Nice.
I wrote a memoir.
That's great.
Yeah, it is good.
Love it.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. We think it's funny, and we hope you do as well. Leave us a nice comment and a 5-star rating. Find us on Instagram. We're now on TikTok. We're on YouTube. And we are at wethinkitsfunny.com. So check it out and tell your friends. Thanks, everybody. Bye.